Hello everybody, and thank you for joining in. So in continuation of the above series of playlist, we are back with question 6. Again, this is a little bit Kubernetes related, and actually I was asked this question but not in this manner. Okay, so I have convoluted the question a little bit. I was asked a little bit more direct question, but the idea is still the same. Let us go over this question kind of like as a use case. You have just joined a company as a cloud architect. As part of the first assignment, your CTO asks you to sort out an issue that all development teams have reported to him. Apparently, after a new security benchmarking tool has been implemented to verify the overall security posture of all Kubernetes deployments in your company, hundreds of errors have been observed, all relating to deployments using the default namespace, which has been flagged as a critical error via the tool. What are your action items at this stage and how would you like to proceed? So basically, see, again I am a cloud architect in this scenario, and what has happened basically, the Kubernetes deployments, many of the Kubernetes deployments that used to happen in this company, okay, before I came in, use the default namespace. Now they have implemented some sort of a benchmarking tool that can be maybe Bridge Crew, Snyk, Kaivanno, anything. Okay, so some which, for example, a tool which implements the CIS benchmarks just to see, or it can be Azure Security Policy, meaning Azure policies or whatever, basically. Okay, and the tool has flagged all of those deployments which have used the default namespace as an error. So basically, the question here, what we want to understand is that why is it an error, what steps we should take to remediate, and what steps we can take to prevent this from happening again. Okay, again in the format that we are accustomed to by now, there is a lot of documentation on this topic. Okay, and this is going to be a short video, very frankly. See, the idea that you need to understand, the first idea is what is namespace. Okay, so normally you can consider namespace as a logical segregation of your Kubernetes cluster. Okay, so for example, if resources that you have deployed in one namespace are typically not available or visible to resources that are deployed in another namespace. So if you have two namespaces inside your cluster, namespace 1 and namespace 2, they are kind of logically isolated. Cross namespace communication is still allowed, and at the end of the day, these are still processes running on the same kernel or the OS host, but at least at a logical level, they are segregated. Also, you can apply your RBAC at a level of namespace. Also, you can apply network security policies at namespace levels, meaning you can say that, okay, if I have three namespaces A, B and C, then A can talk to B, but B cannot talk to C. So it's kind of like a very natural tendency in many enterprise organizations is to set up clusters, multi-tenant clusters, where say one Kubernetes cluster is being leveraged by say 3 teams, and basically 3 different namespaces have been provided to them. So the cluster is the same, but there are 3 different namespaces, namespace for team 1, team 2 and team 3, and the RBAC has been applied, the network policy has been applied, so that from a perspective of team 1, okay, the team 2 and team 3 is not even available to him, they are not even aware of it. Okay, so that is another thing. But what is the default namespace? So by default, all Kubernetes deployments come with something called the default namespace. But nowadays, as a best practice, and this is something that is basically advised by all the major security cloud service providers like Azure, Google, AWS, and also as part of this new security toolings like Snyk, all other infrastructure as code tools, and other container tools, Kubernetes tools like, for example, Bridge Crew, all of them are saying please do not deploy to the default namespace. Why? Because see, it is very easy to do something wrong in the default namespace. If you are not adding any command, it is the default namespace. Say I have deployed something to the default namespace. Okay, by default everybody has access to the default namespace, so I have already deployed something to the default namespace, it is working fine. Now say somebody else comes and deletes that. He also has access to the default namespace. Unknowingly or knowingly, he deletes that entire deployment. So I'm left with nothing, right? So default namespace are not a good thing to use. So at this stage, what we will do basically, very frankly, is that we will work with all the existing teams that use default namespace. We will create different separate namespaces for them, deploy their workloads in those namespaces, which is a breaking change obviously, and then we will coordinate with them so that every single team gets a default namespace and nobody deploys in the default namespace, whether it is in one cluster or in multi-cluster. So nobody should deploy in the default namespace. At least whatever was already deployed, we will remediate them. That is step 1, because this is actually a critical error, even though it might be logged as maybe a low error in some cases, and from a development or a POC perspective, it might be okay. Everybody gets started by deploying on the default namespace. But very frankly, in production environments, or if you are using Kubernetes at scale, you should never deploy on the default namespace, because it's very easy to get wrong, to do something, to do any sort of a mistake on the default namespace, and also it's very hard to migrate out of this scenario in future when you are trying to implement basically multi-tenancy in a single Kubernetes cluster. You might need different namespaces and stuff like that, right? And how would I like to proceed? So see, I have remediated the existing ones. That is okay. That is step 1. But the step 2 is that how do I ensure nobody else can ever deploy on a default namespace ever again? So this can be done with some sort of Kubernetes cluster level policies, or you can run periodic assessments like something like Azure Monitor, or you can use a managed service for deploying Kubernetes like Portainer or VMware Tanzu and stuff like that. So there are many ways, but the idea here is not to go into the technicalities of how to implement this, but the idea is to know that there should be some way that the default namespace is not even visible. Okay, so for example, one way could be that whenever a new team requests access to a Kubernetes cluster, you create a namespace for them. Okay, and you give the team only access to that namespace, so that they always deploy within the constraints of that namespace only. So every single team will get a namespace. And also at a cluster level, you ensure that the default namespace is not visible to any team. Nobody except the cluster admins can see the default namespace, and only the Kubernetes workload. So only some generic workloads can be deployed on the default namespace, which is handled by the cluster admin. So the default namespace should be considered as part of the admin plane or control plane, where no team should get any access. So it's best if it is not even visible to them. So this is basically, see, the question is more to understand how you know to use namespaces, what they do, what are the benefits and limitations. So very important to understand that namespace is a very critical constraint and a very critical or integral part of Kubernetes, and it is one of the most widely used stuff to logically segregate your workloads. So you can have one namespace for team 1, another namespace for team 2. Within also you can have, say, one namespace for dev, one namespace for prod. If you see interview question 5, I have also described that for dev and prod, that even not namespace segregation is enough, maybe you also set up 2 different clusters. But at a namespace level, at least this is important. So if you go through these documents, one of a very nice document that I have seen is this one. So if I open this, hopefully it will open quickly. Yes, so here if you see, one second, see, it is so important to restrict access to the default namespace that CIS security recommendations, and in fact every single major Kubernetes provider recommends this as a best practice. They might not be enforcing them, but it's a best practice. Okay, so what are some of the problems? Insufficient network isolation between application deployments, security risks, as config max and secrets are available to everyone that has access to the default namespace, and by default everyone has access to the default namespace. Okay, so in addition, it's difficult to apply mandatory quota requirements and advanced RBAC to the default namespace. So accidental self-distributed denial of service is completely possible. So basically, as I mentioned, you can go through this document in detail. So the idea is default namespace, nothing should be deployed. So if already something is deployed, we work with the team to migrate it out of the default namespace, and also we put in some policies to ensure that nobody can deploy anything ever again to that namespace, no matter what. Okay. So for example, if you see another one, I will show you. So if you see this one, this is also mentioned. So here, if you see something, I will tell you. See, one of the clusters I worked with, see what it is saying. RBAC rules or organization policies also might mean that the default namespace can't or shouldn't be used. Organization wise, you have policies. One of the clusters I work with is a shared cluster. Shared cluster means kind of like a multi-tenant cluster you can consider, or at least a single Azure or a single Kubernetes cluster where multiple apps have been deployed, where each user has their own namespace which is enforced by RBAC policies. Except for cluster admin, nobody gets to use the default, and everybody needs to be able to configure the namespace to run in their own namespace. So this is something at an organization level also can be applied. And the same you can see is as part of the Google Cloud Kubernetes best practice. You can see. So while it is great for getting started and for small production systems, I would recommend against using it in large production systems. This is because it is very easy for a team to accidentally overwrite or disrupt another service without even realizing it. Instead, create multiple namespaces and use them to segment your services into manageable chunks. So basically, see again, what I am trying to do with this set of questions is, these are not at a cloud architect level or at a enterprise architect level. You might not have to create a namespace always on your own, but these organization level policies, this you need to get right, because the organization is relying on you for those kind of decisions which will impact not a single team always, but maybe multiple teams. Because say for example, in this case, if this policy would have been implemented from day one, all of these teams would never have received this error. Now this will be very difficult for them to migrate all the applications and services and deployments to a new namespace, but they have to do it now at this stage. But in case a good architect was leading them, or there was some organization level policy, because see, there is two things always in an organization, in an enterprise organization. Okay, so there are some teams will be doing their own stuff. They will always try to follow their best practices, but if the organization allows them, they will always sometimes also take shortcuts. But from an architecture perspective, from an EA or a best practice or a platform perspective, you need to set some guidelines which will be written in stone. And in case there is an exception needed, it should go via the exception process, get it approved from the CISO. So this is something you can talk with your interviewer, explain how you have faced similar kind of issues, maybe not about the default namespace, but for some other topic like this, and how you had helped put forward some policies, some best practices, maybe some low level design guidelines that enforced compliance, enforced security, enforced best practices across an entire organization spanning multiple teams, multiple verticals. Thank you everybody for listening to this episode, and I will come back with more videos soon. Thank you.